Congresswoman Laurel. She is a member of the House Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Administration Committees. Congresswoman, good morning. Your reaction first to the fact that President Biden is going to be unveiling an executive order to fix a problem that he pretty much created.
Well, it's a problem that he absolutely created, starting his first day in office when he deliberately undid the policies of President Trump that we know were working to keep our border more secure. Quite simply, we've heard from Border Patrol agents that just implementing Remain in Mexico and ending catch and release would stop about 70% of these illegal border crossings. So one thing that I think is important to remember is that whatever President Biden is going to do tomorrow, he had authority to do 3.5 years ago. And instead, he did the opposite and implemented policies and allowed this utter lawlessness at our southern border that has led to where we are today, with millions of people coming into this country illegally and the myriad of problems that we see to America as a consequence of that. So whatever it is that he intends to do, it is too little too late, and certainly appears to be only in response to the outrage of everyday Americans at the nature and the extent of this crisis.
I want to ask you about some numbers that our brain room here at Fox came up with. And it's interesting because it calculates the number of known gotaways that have entered the country on the southwest border under President Biden. It's a number that's over 5 million. What it doesn't account for is, the unknown gotaways. It doesn't include lawful pathways for immigration. But just the known gotaways is over 5 million under President Biden. Those numbers are staggering considering what these migrants have been doing to the economy and also what they have done in cities like New York and Denver and Boston and Los Angeles and San Diego.
Well, they are. The numbers are, that's exactly the right word. They're staggering. And it is important to always remember there is a real cost to this. These people who enter our country illegally are in communities across America, and they're in our schools, they're going to our hospitals. There is a limit to how much American resources can sustain. And more than that, what we also know is it's not just people. The things that have been coming across our border, fentanyl, human trafficking, the types of travesties coming across, even the people who are coming across indebted to coyotes and people to whom they owe money. So this is absolutely a disaster. And one more thing that's important to always bear in mind is the people who have crossed our border who are on our terror watch list. And those are just the ones, hundreds of them, and those are just the ones we know about. So it is absolutely a threat not only to our economy, but also to our national security. So it is absolutely essential that, and it should have been 3.5 years ago, that this issue was addressed by President Biden.
Yeah, well, and what it's getting mentioned to see what we get tomorrow from this EO is going to be what their threshold is. Oh, well, a couple thousand come over the border daily. Oh, that's okay. But once it goes over that number, then we're gonna clamp down. I think it's going to be kind of a non-starter. But I want to bring in my colleague Liz Peek. She's got a question for you really quick.
Yeah, it's been discouraging to see that Democrats have actually been pretty successful in blaming Republicans for the impasse about border policy. How do you think this EO will play, and what are the Republicans messaging on? Yeah, you're totally right. Too little, too late. But are they going to win this battle? I mean, it's hard to imagine.
Well, I believe we will. And the reason is this, because Republicans have been focused on this issue since the beginning of this Congress. And if you'll recall, we actually sent the strongest border bill in history over to the Senate right at the beginning of this Congress. And the Democrats in the Senate failed to act. Now, I know in recent history, they want to talk about the supposed compromise border bill. Anyone who read that bill, it was 300 pages. The first 100 pages of it don't even talk about securing the border. It was all kinds of foreign aid, NGOs, other things that have nothing to do with the actual policies that would make our border secure. And that never came to the House. So the idea that Republicans haven't been working on this is just absolutely false. So I think it is incumbent upon all of us to ensure that we are continuing to send the message that it is the Republicans who have been pointing out this crisis, doing the things that needed to be done to secure the border. And not only that, when we look back at President Trump's term in office, our border was secure. It was so much better than it is today. None of these crises of this magnitude was happening. So I think the American voters see that, and they know that Republicans are the ones who are willing to implement the policies and do the things to keep our country secure, to keep our border safe.
And all the polling shows that, and it has for several months. And I think that's what has Team Biden now coming up with this EO tomorrow. I do want to move on to what's going on with the former president. So former President Trump, of course, found guilty on 34 counts in his New York City trial last week. He's promising to appeal. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan is slamming the, quote, Manhattan Kangaroo Court, and he's calling for DA Alvin Bragg and prosecutor Matthew Colangelo to testify before the subcommittee on the weaponization of federal government. Congresswoman, I want to get your reaction, and especially your reaction to Jim Jordan calling for this testimony. Do you think that this is a good idea?
I do. One of the most important things that we can do in Congress is provide oversight. Our oversight power allows us to bring people in to testify. It allows us to bring to light some of the information that the American people need to have. And that case, Alvin Bragg's case against President Trump, the American people, I think, recognize that for exactly what it is, which was a political weaponization of the justice system to be used against President Trump in a way that should never have happened. That case should never have been brought from inception. It was supported by neither the facts nor the law that are relevant to the situation, based on a bunch of alleged misdemeanors for which the statute of limitations had expired. I do believe that President Trump has numerous bases for successful appeal, and that he will be vindicated on appeal. In the meantime, though, for us in Congress, I think having the opportunity to question Alvin Bragg, to question those who were involved in the decision to bring this case about the things that got us here is very important. And the American people, I believe, deserve to know and deserve to see that brought to light, just as we've done with so many other special counsels, so many other instances with related to Hunter Biden and others, to make sure that those facts and that information isn't just buried away in somebody's desk drawer in New York, but the American people get to see it and get to see that sworn testimony.
Well, Congresswoman, I asked that because, the clock is ticking. We are now into the month of June, and the election is in November, and you and your colleagues are going to be out there campaigning. Laurel Lee, it's great to see you, Congresswoman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.